think I told you guys kind of briefly the other day when we were having dinner.
He said, you don't have to do this, but let's schedule it.
Oh, yeah, there's that too.
No, you were like, go home and think about it. Next thing, I'm getting a calendar invite. I'm like, wait a second. I didn't think about it yet.
Didn't say yes.
But here I am.
You're welcome.
Because it was on my calendar.
Thank you.
Yeah. It works. It works. It's that assumptive close.
Yeah.
Right.
Always be closing.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
after hours at dinner.
Wait till you're ready. You'll never be ready.
That is true.
We'll get this started here. So we started this over 2 years ago. It was August. It was 2 years in August. So, Alvina's been in the business over 3 years now. I've been in the business over 20 years now, same as you.
Mm-hmm.
But we decided we wanted to do something where we start a kind of a conversation with people that we see that are hyper local in our community that are successful. And so we brought in some people that are pretty amazing that do amazing business on the real estate side, a lot of charity type work, give back, food insecurities and PTSD with veterans and all these things. And it's always been in the back of my mind, and Albina and I've been talking about this for a bit, success isn't always about the monetary and the accolades and everything else. Success is exploring and finding out really what the story is kind of behind the scenes and what people have overcome. And you guys, earlier, kind of the green room aspect of it, we were joking about being married for 25 years. We've been married for 25 years as well. And so, yeah, that's why we're still married. She forgets.
Yeah.
But, we thought, and we're very grateful that you guys agreed to do this, because we're going to ask that you're a little vulnerable, but also have fun with this, because I think your story is important to share, because we see one side of it working with Ryan and knowing what he does for us personally, but also with the company and everyone that's, we work with in our region. And we value that as a friend, as a leader, but we also understand that there's the other side of that, because, and taking a step back, I think that's sometimes, I don't want to say missed, but it's not acknowledged. And I know you don't like the acknowledgement piece
totally
of it.
fine with me. Yeah.
But
Yeah, totally right.
I think it's important to talk about that, because there's a reason why we felt comfortable doing this together as husband and wife, as a team, burning the boats, going into this industry in probably one of the toughest times that we probably ever could have. Mm-hmm. Not only for just the company itself, but who we're actually working with and doing life with. And that's not just you, Ryan, that's actually you and your entire family. Mm-hmm. And it speaks volumes for what you're able to do on the professional side, knowing what's happening behind the scenes on the personal side. So we just wanted to thank you for coming in first and foremost, because I know this isn't you. Ryan does a national show every week, but I think it's important to share this so people can kind of see this, because it is absolutely success 100%. And we want to kind of talk about that.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I know, Ryan, you talk about the lighthouse effect. Gosh, every other maybe podcast that you do. And where does that stem from? Yeah. I'm just going to look right here because, we're talking about success, and what you do for us as a company, first and foremost, your family, but us as a company, it's a lighthouse effect. So that is reflected to us, but how is it reflected to you? And I feel like Staci is a huge part of that. Gosh. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people don't get to see Staci very often unless you have been a part of our team for years. You do, and you quickly realize she's the much better half, as I'm sure the viewers are realizing that now. But
that's not true. 25 years, it takes both, right?
Yeah.
So
there's lighthouse effects professionally, personally, and a lot of times when you work with people that you really enjoy, those blend. You know, you get to work with people that you enjoy, and that's not always the case for everybody. So it's a huge blessing to be like, I'm going to work and I actually really enjoy these people, so much so that we'll vacation together. That's a huge win. And then seeing Staci, for me, you know, work with, you said family, it's families, the kids, sometimes, and then wives, and just the way she supports me and, you know, the rest of the family, the team, is massive, you know, massive for me. I know she hates the limelight and accolades and stuff, but and that's what's even better, because she's doing it not to see her name on a trophy. You know, that should be a nightmare for her.
Yeah.
And not, you know, it's sometimes a thankless job, but that's the most pure way to give back. Like, let me just do this because I want to, not because I'm going to win an award or somebody's going to pay me to do it.
Gotcha. Well, and we just wanted to spotlight you as much as you hate that. Yeah. Sorry about that. Sorry, not sorry.
Too bad. Yeah.
Because we want to celebrate the success that you bring to us as the team, to us as a family. I mean, we're in this together as a family, and so we need all the support we can get, especially in these times where it's harder, right? Mm-hmm. And that trickles down to our kids too. So we appreciate it very much.
So speaking of lighthouse effect, so just, I guess, for people who've never heard that term before, Ryan, can you kind of explain that? Because I think you do it obviously best because you kind of coined it.
It was actually Renee, when I went to an Amplify event with a bunch of top producers that I really envied and looked up to. And I told the story on the show before, but I felt like I didn't have a good event. This is a really short version of the story. I didn't do well, didn't perform. I wasn't the person, you know, the persona Ryan. And that sucked, because I looked up to these people and I wanted to, you know, they knew me from the show, which was cool, but I felt like I didn't do well. What I learned from that event several years ago is the reason I didn't feel like I did well, because I was, for the first time, pretty open about my past and vulnerable about things that I've struggled with. And it came out messy, because I'm not, Staci knows I'm not,
just don't talk about it.
Yeah, I'm not good at that. And so it came out real messy, and I didn't feel like I did very well. And so at the long story short, at the end of 2 or 3 days of this event, it's kind of a private event with like 10 or 15 other top producers, the group votes on a Lighthouse award that kind of showed the, you know, I guess Renee's way of explaining, like, you kind of help be the lighthouse for the group for that event. You know, if you think of a lighthouse, it's, you know, usually helpful in a dark storm, guides the way. So it meant the world. I was like, this is a really cool award. I voted for Jeremy Forcier because he's a powerhouse out of California, and he did an amazing job, crushed it. And then when the votes came out, they voted me, which I thought was so strange, because I'm like, I didn't do well at all. I didn't present well. I wasn't speaking well. It was messy. And that was, you know, shame on me for being this long in the business and not knowing this lesson. But I didn't know that, hey, there's a lot of people that connect with your vulnerabilities too, not just the super polished, you know, regional Ryan Hills, you know, talking about all the loans we fund and all that stuff. So that was where the Lighthouse came from. I still have it today because it meant the world, because it was voted on by my peers, and I still today don't think I deserve it. But to me, like, that's what Lighthouse is like, guiding the way, especially in the toughest of times. You know, Renee and I had shot a show, and, you know, several shows, but one of the things we talked about during the last 3 years of adversity is who you're tethered to in the dark matters.
Mm-hmm.
It really does, because there hasn't been a lot of light in the industry for the last 3 years. And you may not have known where you were going, but if you were tethered to the right people, you know, they pulled you through. The family pulled you through, because it's not just the originator in our business that struggles. It's the wife, it's the kids. And if you have, you know, for me, a Staci that can help in that regard too, it's massive. I'm not going to be able to connect the same way that she is. And she's way more patient and thoughtful and, and you know, and is a great
Thank
listener
God.
than I ever am. Yeah. So long story as to what the Lighthouse is and what it means.
Yeah. Well, I love that story. I've actually used it a couple of times as well, because the visual of that is you're that constant when there's, you know, darkness, and you may know of some impact that you've had, like, wow, thanks for letting me know, but you don't know how many other ships that you've actually saved just by doing what you're doing and putting that out there. And it's that that unknown impact that you just that you have. And so that's kind of why we are doing what we're doing on this aspect of it. Has nothing to do with the loans and the rates and everything else. It's we decided early on that we're going to focus on relationships. Relationships are what we're going to retire on, not transactions. And so if we build these long-lasting, deep, strong relationships with people that we want to do life with and become friends with, that's going to make it fun while we're doing it. But it's also going to pay off more than just the monetary side of it. And so, you're absolutely part of that. Both of you are. And so again, back to stepping out of your comfort zone, Staci, it means more than you know to us that you're willing to do this. So
I think you're more of an impact than you realize or give yourself credit for. I mean, I know that's not your personality.
Yeah.
That's not how you,
Yeah.
either one of you, that's not how you run, but you just want to do this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think I told you guys kind of briefly the other day we're having dinner.
Gosh, you don't have to do this, but let's schedule it.
Oh yeah, there's that too.
No, you're like, go home and think about it. Next thing I'm getting a calendar invite. I'm like, wait a second. I didn't think about it yet.
Didn't say yes.
But here I am.
You're welcome.
Because it was on my calendar.
Thank you.
It works.
It does.
It works. Instead of something close.
Yeah.
Right.
Always be closing.
Yeah.
Even after hours at dinner.
Wait till you're ready. You'll never be ready.
That is true.
That
is true.
That's a mantra that one of my good friends, Susan, told me. She's like, if you wait till you're ready, you'll never be ready. And I hear that all the time. So good piece of advice.
Mm-hmm.
You look at someone that's in a leadership role. I mean, we're in versions of leadership roles with our clients, with our family, obviously, but with our referral partners and agents, and you're very much in that, and so are you. And it back before we went to the Couple Right Now movement, back before we made that actual movement, no pun intended, we were at an event. It was a company event where we were celebrating, success, and our leader at the time, John Banastain, who's no longer with us, unfortunately. I knew he was good at what he did because he's brought a lot of companies along, has built a lot of companies. You spoke very highly of him. I know you had a really good and close relationship with him and his wife, Teresa. But when I realized that he was an amazing leader was when, after he got up and spoke in front of all of us, it was at a resort. I had to go to the bathroom. I left and came around the corner, and I saw him, and he was sick at the time, very, very sick at the time. And you didn't see that until I came around the corner, and he was sitting there, and his wife was wiping him down with paper towels that were wet and trying to cool him off because he was very sick. And he did that in spite of not showing a chink in his armor whatsoever, talking about vision, 2020 vision, right? I mean, we're talking about that. And I'm like, okay, whatever that guy says, I'm going to follow because he's doing that to help us, to encourage us, even though he probably shouldn't be there.
No.
And the other thing I got out of that is because I looked at Teresa and we made eye contact, and I'm like, that's it. She's the one. So, and I see that in this, not saying that you're sick by any means, but I'm just saying it's that silent support that John couldn't do what he was doing without her. And he can't do what he's doing without you. And so I think that's a really good analogy, really good example of, and I mean that, I don't take that lightly. It was good for me to see that, and I wanted to share it because I haven't really told many people that story.
That goes back to that vulnerable side, like you said. It's okay to share that. It's okay to show that. It speaks volumes to a lot of people, and I think it just makes you more human, more relatable, or trustworthy even. people relate to those things, relate to those moments, and it makes you human. And we're like, oh, okay, they might know how I feel. They might know how I am.
I heard he was sick because you're like, yeah, hey, dude, he's not doing very well, and he didn't really show it much. I mean, you can kind of tell, but if you didn't really know him, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean that he, unfortunately, it happened very quick. Like, we found out, and then 6 months later, he, was passing away. It was insane.
Yeah.
Went from being super healthy. He had a goal to buy, after all these years of, service in our business, to buy like his dream car, and he did. And that still kind of stays with me today. Like, he only got to drive this dream car for 6 months. And I got to ride with him. He took me to the hospital. He took me to the airport once. It was a cool car. I don't know what it was, but it's another of many reminders. Like, you're not promised, a retirement. You really aren't. John was one of the best leaders out there, and he didn't get to enjoy it, and that's why I, for many years, worked so hard on work-life balance. And you guys, we never do it perfect, just like anything. So some years you're going to do it better. Some weeks you're going to do it better. But I think if it's a goal, then you're going to be able to pull it off and not mortgage your life, away. Like, you can still have success, be there for your wife, be there, for your husband, your kids. And John was never got the chance to enjoy his retirement, the fruit of his labor. Like, just it's crazy, and we have so many stories like that. But yeah, I mean, I think that's got to be the toughest part, is seeing Teresa hit her version of it. Staci sees, our version of that. And last 3 years has been really difficult, not because of the market. I don't know about you, but the hardest part for me has not been the market sucking. It's been the personal impact that we've seen on everybody's life, and really, really difficult stuff. Mental, drugs, abuse, financial. It's hit everyone, and that's tough for me, because when you're empathetic, it's a blessing and a curse, because you feel for your team, but then it compounds every little thing that happens. And I know you've seen me wear that weight. That's been the toughest for me. I don't know for you.
No,
if that's your perspective as well.
No, I think it's been really difficult, because we're caretakers and we want to help everybody and take care of them and do everything that we possibly can. And sometimes it's hard to carry it, even though we want to. Right. Like that. I mean, that's what we want to be doing, or else we wouldn't do it. But
it takes a toll. It's tough. You hate seeing people down. You hate seeing families ripped apart, marriages ripped apart, because, realtors haven't been able to sell homes and loan officers haven't been able to close loans. But that's been the reality for the last, I just looked it up today. We're almost 3 years to the day of when rates really started their death march up. So we've had 3 years of adversity. That's a long time to do a thing where it's very, very difficult and not have income coming in. No matter how much you saved, everybody's been taxed and stressed. And that's been the toughest part, is just seeing the impact, the negative impact on people's lives. And here we are filming this in late October. And we had a head fake recovery, which is the meanest thing ever. Hey, we waited 3 years. We finally did it. We're here. And then, no, screw you. It's going to continue. Right. And again, it's I was getting so excited for the team. Oh, I can't wait for them to have great months and put some money back in their bank accounts. And maybe that'll lessen the stress on their relationship. So excited for that. I didn't care about any of the money. It was just the team's going to get back to a healthy place. And then head fake recovery. Nope. It's still going to be tough. So that's got to be tough for everybody to go, oh, finally we have some relief, and now we don't.
That's funny.
We've all felt it. We all felt it.
Yeah. No, it's definitely one of those things that it could either bring you closer.
Yeah.
It's like trauma. It can bring you closer or it can tear you apart. So it's not gosh, just depends on that level of trauma, I guess.
Yeah. It doesn't have to. It
Gotcha.
doesn't have to
Right.
tear you apart. It really
Right.
doesn't.
It doesn't.
Matter of fact, a lot of examples that'll pull you close together because you don't have another option but to rely on your spouse. Where maybe in the good times you didn't really have to.
Right.
Everything was easy. I was happy. We were making money. Or like maybe you didn't really need to rely on it. So a lot of times, and I hope that when the dust settles, people will realize once you come through the adversity, oh, that really, really sucked. But now I'm on the other side and I can't believe how much stronger we are because of it. It's just like you guys both work out like crazy. You have to break your muscles down, right? You have to tear them literally for them to repair themselves. And unfortunately, we've been tearing our muscles down mentally for 3 years, but eventually, the relationships will come back stronger if you stay with it.
If you're vulnerable with your partner.
Yes.
Right. It's that
and you're sharing what's
vulnerability.
actually going on.
Yes.
And how you're feeling.
Yes.
Rob and I talked about that yesterday where we've been coached, Rob and I, by some of the same people. And one of the strategies years ago was to compartmentalize the stress. And Rob knows the exercise because we've talked about it, but literally picking a spot on your way home, whether it's a bridge or a stop sign or a tree. And mentally, that's your cue to go, okay, I'm going to compartmentalize all of the crap that happened today so that I don't bring it home to my kids and my wife. It's a good strategy. Problem is, if anything, strength overdone can become a weakness. And so I was telling Rob, and you can speak to this too, like I compartmentalize too much because I don't want to bring it home to her. I'm trying to do that on purpose because, man, if I shared all of the weight that I feel, it'd be real ugly again, and I don't want to put it on her, and I don't want to ruin, the time that I have with her or the kids. So I do compartmentalize, but she's also probably saying, and she has said, I want you to open up.
Yeah, because I can't be there for you. I can't help walk you through hard times if you don't tell me what's going on. And if I know when you're not okay, whether you're putting it away in a corner and trying to leave it there or not, I'm very aware. So it's almost better just to like let it out and tell me what's going on. Yeah. And you have done that this past year a lot, which has been good for us, I think.
Yeah.
Because you have done that probably because you just had to let it out.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But I think it was good. We had a lot of really good moments.
It's kind of a wild, like 301, 401 lesson because it comes from a good place. You actually were coached to do this. Mm-hmm. So you didn't bring the negativity home, yet here we are going, that can actually be a problem. And I know my hope is people watching that have similar or even reverse roles that know Staci's role and mine. You got to learn from my mistakes and you got to balance that. And your partner wants to be there for you. And if you don't share it, they can't be there for you. Mm-hmm. But you also can't do the other thing. You can't bring every negative thing home as well.
Of course.
Well, and it's how you share it too.
Yeah.
Like, you can't come home kicking and screaming.
Right.
But if you come home and share it and, like, not that you want to be sad and depressed either. It just reminds me of this, and I can't remember who it was. It was a podcast, but like you said, working out, when you work out, you feel weak. You don't never want to do it again. I'm too weak. I feel weak in doing that, and it sucks, and this is awful. So you just mask it, and you put on a t-shirt and call it a day, right? Same thing when you're learning something new. I feel stupid. I'm an idiot. All these things. So you stop learning, same thing, all those. But if you do it in a way that's like, yeah, this sucks in the moment, but you just got to keep persevering, keep pushing, then you're going to come out better on the other side. In the moment, it feels fantastic. I'm being sarcastic, obviously. Yeah. It hurts. It hurts a lot, but you're going to come through it on the other side. Same thing when I came into the business, perfect time. Didn't feel good at all. And then it's hard. And yeah, is it still hard? Like, yeah, but what am I going to do?
It's perspective, though. I mean, I think you guys have a great perspective. Sure. If we were going 100 miles an hour and business was booming, everything was great, I don't know if she would be as good as she is now and is going to be because it was easy, right? Also, it's given and opened up a ton of opportunities to where we're going back to those relationships. There's realtors that are struggling and we're able to actually build those relationships and pour into them and build long-lasting actual friendships, and we're doing business life together, where we wouldn't have those opportunities if it was just business as usual. So you have to kind of take the good with the bad. And so, yeah, there's some pain there, but we're actually getting a lot stronger through that. And I will say, from our perspective, seeing what Ryan has to do on a daily basis, I completely agree with you. Like, hey, you got to give me some of this. But he's also in a position that some people on the surface might envy, because you have a title and all these other things, but he's got a shitty job.
It's a hard job.
He does, because I mean, loan officers are like kindergartners, and it's like, well, Johnny and Sally said this, and I mean, it's an emotional business. We deal with, our highest and best use is dealing with people's emotions, and that's the borrower side, that's the realtor side. But when we come to him, he's that sounding board, right? So he has to, and he can't necessarily respond with what he's probably really thinking, like, tough shit, you got to figure this out. He does, but I mean, he can't probably say it. He has to say it on a professional side, right? He has to be diplomatic, but he can't take that up the chain. He's also getting stuff coming from top, coming down. So it's a pressure cooker for what he's doing. And again, that's why you and I, we've had some arguments, some disagreements and stuff, but now because he's a high, if you know, like the disc test, he's a high D, I'm a high C. He thinks he wins. I know I win because he's quick like that, but I've done all the research, so I already know that I have no. But we joke like, hey, and I'll preface it. I need to vent. Like, I need to, like, or
which is good,
right? Because when I don't, it's like, dude, why are you coming in so strong?
Yes.
It's really helpful for a high grade to tell us that, because we're going into fix it mode if you don't.
Exactly.
So I can kind of sit back then if you do.
Okay, so from now on, that's what I'm going to say. I'm just going to be like, I need to vent. Don't fix my problem. I just need to get it out.
And I've also learned,
setting good expectations. It sounds weird to say, but like, super helpful.
Also, if I know I need him to fix it, it's like, okay, what would you do? And then that's all I need to do. Like, okay, he's driving now.
I'm going to use that.
I'm going home now. I'm going to take a nap. He's going to get it figured out for me.
Yeah, because sometimes I'm like, I just need to get it out. I don't want you to fix the problem. Yeah. I know how to fix the problem already. I just need to, like, talk about it and work through it.
It's definitely help. I mean, he does that with you.
That's like, very helpful.
I'm just venting, and I'm like, all right, yell at me, but when he says it that way,
I'm not yelling at you. I'm just yelling, and it's not even yelling. I just talk loud.
I'm so like, never mind. Okay, we're set. But yeah, no, it's good. And I realized there was, I can't remember what day it was, but obviously there was a lot going on. It's like, not a big thing. I'm like, how are you, Ryan? He's like, God.
Oh, you actually care?
He goes, nobody's ever asked me that before. I was like, that's sad. That's sad. So mental note. True.
So Staci, when you're saying that you want him to elaborate or to vent, I mean, is that because I think I already know the answer, like, because you want to help. Same thing, right? Yeah.
If I can.
I can say from experience, like, because I've tried I'm going over this bridge now, I need to, like, get this out of my head, but with ADD and OCD and everything else, it's hard. It's like this constant loop. And I think she has a different perspective now because she's walking the same path with me right now. So I think there's been some aha moments, like, oh, that's why he lost his shit on that one. Or that's why.
That makes sense. You can understand a
little bit
better.
Yeah, not that I wanted to.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you kind of did.
But I can also say from experience, like, and you've done a show on this, like the work-life balance or life-work balance, like the burners, like, yeah. So you have one that's cranked up. It's like something's out of whack there. And I think he's done a really good job keeping that even.
I totally agree.
And it's hard because, again, your spouse, you want to help and whatever, but I also know that bringing that in through the front door and bringing that negativity also is probably not a healthy place either, because then you get like that addictive, like, okay, now I'm just on this tangent, I'm going off in all these rabbit holes, I'm off in the weeds now, and I'm not focused on, to his point, like my wife and kids and dinner and everything else. And so it's tough. But what's cool is I know that he knows that you are there, and if he actually has to do it, you're gonna listen, right? But that's good that you're actually starting to bring it up a little bit more, because of course there's been a lot more topics probably to talk about this year.
Yeah.
Yes, out of necessity for sure.
Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting to hear the wife's perspective before. Now you're in the business, so go back to before where you had a similar role with Staci. Like, what, looking back over all the years, what do you guys think that we did well in terms of being married and handling the stresses of the business, and also looking back, what could we have done better? And I don't say like us, but like, what could we have done better? What could we have done better? You know, when you guys look back and be like, I know that we did this well, but I know that we also could have done that better, comes to mind.
Definitely what we just talked about, sharing a little bit more and not shutting things completely out, because then I just don't know where you are sometimes. So that's number one for me, for sure. I don't know. I feel like you've always been pretty good at balancing work and home. I've tried really hard. Really complaints or like anything that's like, well, you could have given me a heads up, and then I'd have a list.
Let me go back to the text that you're sending me, Staci. This guy.
I don't know. I think you're right. I think it all comes down to communication. You know, just the communication piece. If it's not there, I mean, even the littlest things, like you need to change the light bulb.
So there's a light bulb that's out.
There's a light bulb that's out.
Yeah, it's a headlight.
There is? Yeah. Just, I mean, but it does come down to communication. That's key, because if you have that locked down, then everything else follows through. You know, what that communication looks like, whether you're, you know, it's a heated discussion, and I'll say that, or, you know, just day-to-day stuff. I think it comes down to that. Just know where each other's head's at, you know?
Yeah.
I think like you bringing me around different events and stuff more often in the past few years, I would say probably the past few years, where I've been more involved with different things and outside of work activities, even though it's with work people. I think it's been really helpful for me to feel more plugged into your life and work.
Yeah.
So I mean, sometimes I wish that we would have done that sooner. I'm not sure why we didn't. Probably just life and busyness with kids and stuff. I have more freedom now. I like that.
But I think for a takeaway, if you're younger and you have kids and you're, you know, starting to make this march up the corporate ladder or whatever you want to call it, I think one of the things we did well, we took a team approach at the business. You were involved. You know, some days you didn't feel like it, but, you know, with every originator has a wife, and sometimes it's different, but we took a team approach. As my role grew bigger over more states, we talked about, I'm not going to chase this dream at the expense of my family. So how do I do that? Because I still am a high driver and I want to succeed. So we decided, like, if I have to travel to one of those states, it doesn't happen 100% of the time, but, you know, travel with me. She comes with me. I actually learned that from Battistain. He taught me that. Him and Battistain and Teresa would travel together. So I wasn't gone for 5 days in Colorado, which also, again, anybody young kind of getting on that path, is a huge win, because then the dinners and the happy hours and the lunches, your wife is making those really strong connections with those families. And that's been a huge help to me professionally too, but also personally, that I didn't leave my wife behind to go work every time I have to travel. That we did well. And blessed that even with the business being so hard, I still love it. It's afforded us so much. But one thing it's afforded us is a trip almost every year. And we decided to do that just with ourselves and not the kids. And we actually got pushback from our family and my parents, like,
For years.
why are you leaving the kids behind? Well, because you have to have a good marriage first to be able to be a good father and be a good mother. And so even though we got pushback from both of our parents, we don't regret that. Like you need to have date nights, but you also need to take trips together. And that's something we've done right. We've done a lot of things wrong. Yeah. I don't want to stand here and flex like we're the perfect couple, but those 2 things we did right and were a huge help for us. And because a lot of people say, well, you can't go chase some of those dreams because they cost too much. And I understand that everything comes at a cost, but you can find the balance and have your family travel with you. Cameron's traveled with us, Carson has traveled with us, and it doesn't have to come at the expense of your spouse. I mean, that's the 4-burner theory conversation we had years ago. Look at Tiger and look at Kobe. It all cost them their family. Yeah, I wasn't willing to do that, no matter what the role was going to be, whatever the paycheck was going to be. So you may not get as high as you think you want to on that corporate ladder or achieve the things you want, but trust me, it's not worth losing your family over.
There's been a lot of change.
Now's the time to work, though, and that's the reality of it. And you have to be okay with that, because there's going to be seasons of like, okay, we can sit back because fruits of our labor, but right now we got to work, and because it's the opportunity, right? I mean,
it's never going to be perfectly balanced every day.
But we're aware of it. We're always,
sometimes you're over here and sometimes you're back over here. We have too much time on your hands, and
well, you got to course
I see the balance, actually. Scratch that. The balance is the boys are watching us work together.
I think you bring up a gigantic point. I'm sitting here going, wow, nobody's brought this angle up yet. Yes, the kid's perspective. We've talked a lot about adversity, how we handle it, how your team handles it, but nobody in our entire space that I've seen in 3 years has said, hey, your kids are watching how you respond right now.
I think
and it can be a gigantic win when they see mom and dad rally when things are shittiest and the hardest, and they rally together. You might have no idea what foundational, strengths you just built into those 2 boys. Right. But also, for people listening, I'm sure the opposite's true. You kicked and screamed and you became the worst version of yourself during those last 3 years. Your kids saw that too. Right. And nobody's really talked about like, hey, because you just look at it through your own lens. It's probably organic to do that, or your spouse's lens, but your kids have been watching you for the last 3 years. How have we handled that? Is really, you're not going to see that play out until maybe they're adults. Mm-hmm. When they hit adversity, like you guys did, and they don't run from it, but they rally, and then there's some people unfortunately maybe didn't handle it the best, and they're probably going to repeat what they were taught during. Well, I saw my mom and dad hit adversity when things got tough and they split or they went the other way.
Right.
Nobody's talked about that yet.
We've been very intentional on sharing our successes and failures with our kids, because I learned, and I think I shouldn't say just me, most people at some point in their life, they're going to learn who their parents are as a person. And that could be either an amazing event or they can be really disappointing. And I've been guilty of that. I mean, we used to stay here till 11 o'clock at night and no one gave a shit. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, they're going to see value in it. No, they don't. They don't care. My kids and my wife cared because I wasn't at home, but I thought there was value in that. That was just me thinking, okay, I'm going to outwork this, and that's not smart. And so I think the way you've approached it back kind of full circle is you've done it wisely and intentionally. And it may still be clunky at times, but now you guys are evolving to where, okay, your kids are older now. We can start doing these things together, because you are, again, back to this whole reason for this whole conversation. You're very much part of this. That's what I saw in doing this with her, is like, I'm going to connect with a certain segment of the population. There's no reason why she's not going to connect with the other part of it.
But back to the kids, you know, they see us, they see you guys, they see what you guys are doing. We made the comment about Cam's like, oh, let's see what Dad's doing.
Yeah.
He's working with his friends. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that goes back to like you're creating a community within our community here, mm-hmm. and we support each other. So it goes back to that. And then our kids look up to you, Staci, actually. And I need to talk to you about that because they want to schedule a date with you
hey, what kind of date? They're of age now.
With their girlfriends. They want to learn how to make your...
Oh my gosh, I would love that.
They're your candy apples, because we were talking about that. He's like, do you remember those? They call you Staci, which is funny to me. And remember those candy apples, Staci? And I was like, yeah. And then they don't know me that well. They don't know my name. It's a nickname they gave you. And one of the girlfriends was like, those were so basic. I wish I know that. So I said, you guys want to
Date night and make candy out?
yeah, that'd be fun. And so they were like, can we do that? Can you ask her?
Yeah.
So,
Heck yeah.
lighthouse.
Full circle.
Foodies.
They are foodies.
For foodies, yeah.
They are
Salt.
foodies. But yeah, I mean, that down to our kids,
Yeah.
both sides, right?
Well, and with the kids, like I've done videos with the boys, and smarter than a fifth grader. The mortgage version.
That's
version
what
of
we
it.
need in here. All the kids in here.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a much better podcast. Kick us out.
But
Just have the kids
I look
on.
back at that and it's like, okay, they're never going to be that age again. They're never going to be that good. I mean, they're goofy, but it's like I cherish that. And so, I mentioned this the other night. Like at some point, back to what I was saying, your kids are going to see you for who you are. You can have conversations with them, but it's based on the context that the environment they're in or that moment. But years from now, they're going to see this. I mean, they might be the ones watch it, but it's kind of cool to see mom and dad actually talk about these are the things that we actually had to do together, and it's like a dance in a way, and kind of overcoming these things. And so it's cool.
Do you think Carson's at that point where he's starting to understand us? Like not as his parents, but just as human beings. And like he's totally like just, I don't know. Something's changed in him. I don't know, but just age maybe, and I don't know, but he definitely he sees us differently. Even today, he's like, Mom, just go have fun. Don't overthink it. You got this, Mom. Like you can do it.
That's so sweet.
I did.
Good kids.
I know.
Good kids.
But yeah, I feel like he's just seeing us differently recently.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, he's 21 now and trying to find his own path. And the ultimate compliment is when they still want to hang out with you, which he still does, which is awesome. And he actually enjoys it. And tried to tell our younger daughter, hey, they're pretty cool.
Yeah,
she's not ready to
just
hear
like
that
last
yet.
week.
She's not ready to hear
Cameron,
that
Mom and Dad really are fun. You really should hang out with them more.
I love that.
But Carson's gotten there, so maybe, hopefully, Cam will.
She will. She's just busy with being a senior in high school and hanging out with friends. She should.
That'd be a good podcast, though.
Hayden, coming back from college, I was talking to Mom on the way back from the eye appointment yesterday.
Hold on, we got to go back to that. So the reason why Rob had an eye appointment is because they were wrestling one year and got nailed in the eye by Hayden. So now he has a retina specialist. He's got old man specialist.
Yeah, detached retina.
So he had to drive him there because I had an appointment myself and he had to get his eyes dilated. I was like, you got to take your dad to his eye appointment.
This is what you did.
As you should. As he should.
Yeah.
He should have gone in with you. That's what he should have done.
Yeah.
Should have done, but
Yeah, we were talking because he was away at college all of last year, and then so he's home now. He's wanting to get into trade, so he's applying for trade school, but he's at home with us, and so he had his freedom, and then now he still does, but he's under our roof, and he goes, I go, I know you probably want to be out on your own. He goes, I do. He goes, I love you guys, but I go, but you come downstairs and there we are, and he goes, well, it's not that bad. And I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it, right? I go, it's better than the other version of you trying to pay rent and everything else. Just might as well just save your money. Let's go to school, So and I said that's a good thing. I don't want you don't need to be in an upstairs basement the whole time and everything else. It's like, no, you need to go out on your own. You should want that. I encourage that, but they do still like hanging out, which is cool. No, I guess in closing, get this wrapped up, I just kind of reiterate, appreciate you both taking time out. You didn't have to do this. I mean, we set the date and assumptive close, but no, you guys are sharing some personal things, but the idea, back to what I was saying at the beginning about us choosing this company, us choosing Movement Mortgage, it isn't about the CRM, it isn't about the rates, it isn't about I mean, it's an amazing company. And I say this often to our realtor friends and even our clients, like, there's no other place that I would feel comfortable working with my wife with other than Movement. And it's not just because it's an amazing company, it's because of people that we work with. And that's both of you. It's the leadership, but it's also the support, it's the friendship, it's that hive mentality. We have, like, the amount of knowledge that we have just down our hallway is unmatched, in my opinion. I mean, we have some amazing people, and everyone's pulling in the same direction. Everyone would literally drop anything that was going on to help the other one. And you just don't see that culture in any other environment. And that says a lot about you, Ryan, obviously, but it also says a lot about you, because he isn't able to do this at a high capacity without the support. And that's something that has to be said and has to be acknowledged.
Yeah, for me, it's one of the coolest on accident successes and lessons I've learned. It wasn't 20 years ago, I didn't set out to do this the way you talked about it, which it means a lot when somebody says, I appreciate the community, the family that we have. And that goes both ways, because everything comes at a cost. You guys and the rest of the family get recruited away, get promises of money and whatever else to go somewhere else. So do I. And so I continue to choose my family, and that comes at a cost, but you guys do as well. So everything comes at a cost, but the fact that people appreciate it, like, if you're going to go build something, one, do it with people that you enjoy and like and trust, and do it with a community. It's so much easier. It takes the, community type, what's the old saying? It takes a tribe, takes a village, right? It really is the same in this business, same in real estate. Like, if you've got 10 other Ryans, 10 other Robs, Alvinas, and Stacis, you got, nurturers there. It's so much easier to do this business versus being by yourself, working from home, out of your closet, in a silo, nobody to talk to, no family to go break bread with, vacation with, take time off with, decompress with. I can't imagine going out. I would probably hate life and this job if I didn't have the family and community. And we don't have a perfect family or community. This is like most families. Some brothers and sisters you like more than others, and some you want to punch every day. That's family in America, right? It's no different. So it's not perfect, but I wouldn't change a thing. I'm so thankful that it happened this way. I didn't set out 20 years to build that. I think just like-minded people getting together, right? And it's a snowball effect. And then the third person and a fourth person and a fifth person comes. You got our newest hire, and Ricky, like he joins the family 15, 20 years later, and he's very similar to us, and the family grows, and that has been so cool. I like that lesson. It was just something that kind of happened, that wasn't ever set out, and it takes everybody, strong wife, support family, like kids, all of us. So I appreciate you appreciating it. That sounds very cliche to say, but it means the world too, because it is. I do think it's our secret sauce.
Secret sauce.
Yeah. Yeah. Weird. You tackle something, two minds are greater than one type approach. Well, what happens when you have a whole community?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
All right.